evening to all of you. As always, we'll start this session by setting up proper motivation, which consists of three parts: refuge field, bodhicitta field, and the purpose of the practice. For bodhicitta field, uh, I welcome you all to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Acharya Chandrakirti, Acharya Dignaga, Acharya Dharmakirti, Arya Manjushri, Arya Avalokiteshvara, Arya Vajrapani, Bodhisattva Shantideva, and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of you. And they are looking upon you with immense kindness and unconditional love, just as a mother looks upon her only child. Bodhicitta field, visualize your two kind parents seated on either side of you, mother on the left and father on the right. And you are accompanied by all dear mother sentient beings, living none aside, and this time you are leading them in this session practice. The purpose is to awaken the Buddha nature within us by resorting to the ultimate remedy, which is the wisdom of emptiness, complemented by the driving force of bodhicitta, that is the aspiration to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, grounded on renunciation, aspiration to renouncing the suffering, miseries, all kinds of miseries, suffering of change and pervasive condition suffering, and which in turn is grounded on the great compassion by removing the two obscurations, that is afflictive and cognitive obscurations. By keeping these in mind, we'll recite the prayers from page number 3. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Sangye choda tsoki chonam la chanchu pardu dani gyapsu che dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki tola penche sangye dupa sho sangye choda tsoki chonam la chanchu pardu dani gyapsu che dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki tola penche sangye dupa sho Sangye chodan sogi chonam la chanchu pardu dami gyapsu che dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki dola penche sangye dupa sho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the concept of Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all lead hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths cause those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience help subduers expound a variety of teachings. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugatha, and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you, the Buddha, I make prostrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. The essence of dependent origination mantra, Dipeshla will play the audio. Thank you.
Dipeshla, can you raise the volume?
Dipeshla, we can't hear anything.
Dipeshla, we couldn't hear the audio.
You could not hear? I'm not sure I did everything. Okay, let me try one more time. Let me try.
It's a,
Why
okay.
don't you recite it?
Okay, just I'll recite it today.
Yeah.
Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavadat tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. ॐ ये धर्मा हेतु प्रभव हेतुं तेषां तथागतो ह्यवदत् तेषां क्षयो निरोध एवं वादी महाशमनाय स्वाहा ॐ ये धर्मा हेतु प्रभव हेतुं तेषां तथागतो ह्यवदत् तेषां क्षयो निरोध एवं वादी महाशमनाय स्वाहा. Meaning of the mantra: all phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the greats here. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite, such is the nectar like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unseized, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times, I pay obeisance. Four seals of the Buddha's teachings. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are of the nature of suffering. All phenomena are of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of mysteries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. The Buddha does not wash the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Let's turn to praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugatha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With a supreme science face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparable white one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the four of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Now we'll recite the Heart Sutra mantra for 7 times. Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Dipeshla will recite the 8 verses of mind training till Gishala is. Thank you, Dipeshla. 8 verses for mind training, for training the mind by Geshe Langri Thangpa, with a determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem. May I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds may I prop into my mind as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character and those oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard them still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the eight mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusion, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my two collection vast space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Okay, Dipishla, Kishla is here. We can turn to Bodhicitta verses. Thank you, Dipishla.
Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry for keeping you all waiting. I was having another meeting. Thank you for being very patient. And Lisa, thank you. Adela, thank you so much. Okay. Um, generating bodhicitta, as taking the aspiration of bodhisattva vow. Let us wholeheartedly do it as we recite this. Let's see how much we can invoke the respective experiences. For that matter, let us reinforce the visualization of the refuge field, Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas Bodhisattvas in front of us, so loving, so caring, embracing. And let us reinforce the visualization of your two parents and all of family members, all dear sentient beings living on our side. And here you are the mother, and all others are like your children. And just visualize yourself being moved by love, affection, attention, and embrace to all the dear sentient beings. And all the beings, they're joining you. And you are leading this procedure of taking the aspiration bodhisattva vow with the mind left to, as always, together. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successively dwelt in the bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelt in the bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please pay heed to me. Just as the previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successively dwell in the bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall I too successively follow the bodhisattva practices. Okay. Last time I think we finished the other ancillary topics. We finished. Oh, we did the attainment non-waste, right? Yeah, that's it. 3 times I said finish. Okay. We are doing the Vaibhashika Tenet system, and so the basic pattern we are studying the 10 systems is on the how this author how he designed the syllabus is the basis, the path, and the result. And the basis or the reality that we live in, the basis. And this reality should be understood in the form of the object and the subject. So the object, we studied the two truths, we studied the what is known as how the karmas are being transmitted on the basis of the attainment, non-waste stage, and so forth. And yeah, so we studied, and then about the 3 times that this school, Vaibhashika, makes the presentation that the 3 times are impermanent, past, present, future, all impermanent, which is exactly accepted by the Prasangikas. In other words, Prasangika and Vaibhashika, they agree on many points. One of which is that the 3 times are impermanent, and the other schools, South Chandra school, Chitamatra, and then the Svatantra Madhyamika. So these schools that keeping aside or excluding the Prasangika and Vaibhashika, all the schools in between, they accept only the present moment as impermanent, the past and the future as permanent. Okay, let us not forget these technicalities. Next, the subject. Object, okay, so that is the basis. Under this, we classified this, we studied this under 2 captions, the object and subject. Okay, object, of course there are many things to be discussed under the object, but just to give you the brief clue. So this is what is done, and then of course the object, we talked about the basis of the 5 bases, the physical form, then the primary mind, then the mental factors, then the non-associated composite factors, and the permanent phenomena or the non-composite phenomena, the 5. We studied that. Now under the subject, we study the subject. We study under again 3 sub topics. That is the person. When you speak about the subject, by the way, when you speak about subject, the English word subject can be quite ambiguous. Let's say that what is your subject in the university? What's your subject in university? So you're not about the subject as opposed to the object. This is not what you're talking about. It's about whether you took physics or arts or the commerce or the environmental science, or what subject you have taken. So in that sense, but the subject here is a subject as opposed to the object. There's a difference there. So here when you speak about the subject, it is a subject as opposed to the object, and this subject can be studied under 3 the subheadings. One is the person, the person, and then the consciousness, and the terms or the labels. Person, consciousness, and terms and the labels. Okay. Didn't you get up? Now you can remove this. Okay. When you speak about subject as opposed to the object, these are the only 3 things, and this is something universal across the Buddhist Tenet systems, from Vaibhashika through to Prasangika. When you speak of the subject means 3. in the form of the, let's say, for example, let's say that, okay, this is a flower. When you say that this is a flower, the flower is the object. And when you say that this is a flower, there are three things involved from the subject. There are three things involved. One is you use the label that this is subject, or I say that, okay, the Namgyala, I need a flower for the to be used as example, right? Then I need a flower, and then Namgyala brings this up. Namgyala gives this to me. Okay, what I said was, I just said I need a flower, right? So I use a word, I use the label, I use a term or label. So with this, then the Namgyala said, okay, this label corresponds to this object. So this object, how did you know that this is what I want? Because I used the label. I used the label which corresponds, the reference of which is this flower. You're getting it? So the label is what I use for him to understand that this is what I'm looking for. So the label, the term, the label or the term, this is one subject. Then the other thing is that I'm using my mind. I'm using my mind. I need a flower. I'm using my mind. So this mind views, this mind thinks of a flower. So this mind or the consciousness, this again enters the subject. The mind interacts with the object. Then the I am. Who is that person? I, the person. I want this flower. I want a flower. I. So here, with the flowers object, there are three subjects involved: the person, the person, and the consciousness of the person, consciousness of the mind. These two are synonymous. And then the label of the term. Label of the term, the person, the consciousness, and the label or the term. Okay, so these three things are the subjects. And the Buddhism is oftentimes also referred to as the science of mind, science of the subject, science of the mind, particularly the mind. Okay, so on the subject, when you speak about the subject as opposed to the object, we can think of only these three things: the person, the consciousness, and the labels or the terms. Okay, first the consciousness. Vaibhashika, okay, what is this consciousness? Okay, let me ask somebody. Okay, if I ask you, who are you? What is your response? Anybody? Amrita? Okay, I did not ask you what is your name. I did not ask what is your name. I asked, who are you?
Consciousness, body, mind.
Okay, so Amrita is a great philosopher, right? So, for example, say if I interview somebody, if you are there to sit for interview, right? And I was the interviewer, and I asked you, who are you? May I know who are you? May I know who you are? What is your response? I'm the body, the mind. Okay, Amrita, tell me, what will you say?
Then I will talk about my context, that I studied this, my parents ran from Pune, and I went to this college. I will start talking about my context.
Okay, so you'll speak about, say your parents, the university where you're staying, so forth. Then I ask you, who is that reference? I, what is this I? I ask you, then what is your response? You're always saying I, my mother, my father, my place of birth in Pune, my college in Pune, and so forth. This my I. What is this I? What is your response?
Then
Okay.
again, this I means this label Amruta, mind, body.
Okay. So then this I is Amruta's body?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Or maybe Dr. Sandeepji, you must have something to say. The doctors, they always have to write the names of the patients, right? So who are you? Right? Okay. Dr. Sandeepji, what do you think?
It's just defining what you think you are, but in context of what you taught, it would mean the person.
If I'm your patient and you ask me who are you, right? Then I say it depends on how you define me. Is this how I should be telling you? You'll be very upset, right? If I'm your
Yeah.
patient. So what do you expect me to tell you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, everybody's scared. What happened? Okay. They say the way Amruta said that, okay, I'm from Pune, I studied this, my parents are this, and so forth. Then I asked, yes, okay, thank you so much. I want to know what is that referent? You're always referring to I. What is you're using this label? I. What is that referent? What does it mean? What's the referent of that label? I. What is that I? So Amruta said, Amruta's body. Anybody else? Okay. I'm not really surprised that you're all the what is that? What is the English word? You're all like paranoid, right? You're a paranoid. Okay, what to say?
But
Okay.
if I does not exist, means
Oh, okay, Gayatri ji.
I'll give you the Vedantic definition. I'm a mixture of body-mind complex.
Okay, you are a mixture of body mind complex. Okay. So the Gayatri ji, do you take rebirth to the next life? Gayatri ji,
If
do
I
you
don't,
take
if I do not attain enlightenment, definitely I'll take
okay, you
another
take
birth.
rebirth. So your body mind complex goes to next birth.
No, not the body.
So that is the I, right?
Just the sukshma and the causal body and the I don't know I know the Sanskrit word. It's sukshma sharira. I mean that is my um, sense perception. My mind goes to the other body. Goes
That's
to the
fine.
other birth.
But you said that the body mind complex. Body mind complex, if that is the I, then the body mind complex should go to the next life, right?
Not
Because you go to the
not
next life if you don't attain enlightenment in this life.
then my consciousness goes to the next life.
Okay, you're born, you do not go to the next life.
Physical body doesn't go to the next
No,
life.
I'm not asking your body. You.
Yes,
Gayatri will not go to the next life.
only Gayatri will
Oh.
go.
Huh?
Only my consciousness will go. Only my Atma will go.
Not you.
No.
I see. You'll be liberated. You become Buddha then.
No, in common,
Huh?
no, even if I am just a common, normal, not a jnani, just a common, non-wise person also, it is my Atma my prana that will travel. I don't know the English word. It is just.
No, do you go to next life or not?
Of course, I will go to the next life.
You go to next life. So which means you are not the body mind complex.
At the moment, in this present Janma, I am the body-mind complex.
Okay, body mind complex. So this moment, the Gayatri now, Gayatri who exists now, will not go to next birth.
The Gayatri, which is now, will keep on traveling till she reaches moksha.
Okay, which means that Gayatri now will keep on to next life till moksha, right? Okay, so the point is, this is some big question. Okay, Gayatriji, mute. Okay, good. So this is a big question which the philosophers were spending lots of time exploring what this is, including the Western philosophy, Western psychology. They talk about the ego, they talk about the ID and subconscious, in order to identify what the self is. And then in the Eastern philosophy, there's a tremendous exploration. What is the self? What do you mean by I? Even the neuroscientists, although they are not, although they are not too keen on this part, but they, while doing their neuroscience, but they are locating where is this I? Yeah. So this is a huge discussion. Because of which, then but what we there are few things which are undeniably to accept it by everybody. For example, let's say that I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm a Tibetan, right? I'm young, I'm old. This is something which universally to be accepted. You agree with me? Okay. So that is related. Then the question. So when you say young, old, is related to the body. You agree with me? So, say identifying what this self is, to one extent it is related to the body. Then, if you say body is the self, there's complication. Then the self travels to the next life, but the body does not travel to the next life. Again, there's a complication there. It's not easy simply because that you identify yourself with respect to your body. I'm a male, I'm a female, I am young, I'm old, and so forth. You identify yourself with respect to your body. And simply because you identify yourself with respect to the body, if you say that the body is a self, then we also accept the self to be traveling to the next life, rebirth. And the body doesn't take the rebirth. This is for sure. Okay, this complication there. Then if you say, okay, body is not the self, then what I have is a mind. Say, I'm intelligent, I'm not intelligent, I'm compassionate, I'm not compassionate, I'm a restless person, I'm a calm person, whatever you may call it, is all about your mental quality. So you identify yourself as, again, I with respect to the mental qualities. On that basis, if you say that your mind is the self, again, there's a problem. If your mind is the self, your mind does not have a gender. Your mind does not have a gender. Your mind cannot be male or female. So you cannot be male and female if you are to be identified as your mind. So all these complications happen. So this question remains a big question to all the philosophers. Okay, so the subject, under this heading, the subject, there are three subheadings: the person, the consciousness, and the label, or the terms. The first, the person. What is that person? This is a big question. Now, Vaibhashikas, okay, here, this school, some of them, they identify all what we are made of. We are made of 5 aggregates. Okay, anybody who likes to tell me what the 5 aggregates are? Anybody? Very quick, raise your hands. What the 5 aggregates are? Very quick, very quick, very quick. We don't want to lose time. Anybody? Okay, Swikim.
Form, feeling, discrimination, composition factors, and consciousness.
Very good, thank you. Okay, on the Inshika, we are here to do the 5 aggregates. We are not yet done. Okay, never mind. The Swikim, thank you so much. We're here to do that, but it doesn't matter. Let's say the 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates meaning what we have. What we have is, okay, do you agree with me? Even those who are new to this, don't worry. Do you agree with me? If you agree with me with the point, then we will move to next. Then it becomes easy. You get it. What I have a body. Do you agree with me or not? Yes. I have mind. Do you agree with me or not? Yes. Okay. Now I'll make it a little complicated. That if you ask me, say or if somebody is to introduce me to you, let's say that you don't know me at all, and the person says, "Oh, he's the director of Tibet House. He is the male. He's not a female, and then he's a Tibetan. Then he is the what, old or middle age? I don't know. What do you say? 50 years old, middle age. Those above 50, you'll say you are young. Younger ones will say you are old, right? Okay, he is 50 years old. Okay, do you agree with me that all these descriptions given by somebody to you about me is about my body? Do you agree with me? Which means that I have a body. I have a body. One. Then number two is that, okay, he's kind, he's not kind, he's intelligent, he's not intelligent, and he has let's say okay, he's learned, he's not learned. All these descriptions, they're related to my mind. Yes, no. Do you agree with me or not? Okay, if you agree, then which means that I have a mind. Now the next thing is that if you take away my body, if you take away my mind, all my descriptions will disappear. Do you agree with me or not? This is little complicated how we conventionally discuss how we describe somebody in the conventional world. Okay, don't go to the philosophy. In the conventional world, and then how would you describe somebody? Okay, he's kind, he is he's old, he's young. These are the ways by which we describe somebody. Do you agree with me or not? All the descriptions that we do on the basis of the conventional world, the presentation. So from that point of view, we see that all these descriptions are related to the body and the mind. And if you take away the body, if you take away the mind, then there's nothing to be described about this Dorji. Do you agree with me or not? Okay. If okay, conventionally, yes. But philosophically, I'm not too sure. Don't worry. If you're not too sure about the philosophical speaking, don't worry. At least conventionally, you agree with me? That how the conventional world, there you describe about the cell, and then what is your CV? In your CV, is all about your body and mind, right? All your CV is about body and mind. Yeah. So the point is that if you take away the body and mind, there's nothing left there as you. This is the empirical reality. I'm talking about the empirical reality. Now, which means that on the empirical level, we are made of body and mind. So the body, we call it as the aggregate of form, aggregate of body, aggregate of form. Done. Now the mind, on the mind, we can speak of the mind in two ways: mind in general and the mind in specifics. Mind in general, we call it the aggregate of consciousness. Mind in general, we call it aggregate of consciousness. Then the specific are the minds, or specific minds, we call them mental factors. Specific minds, we call them mental factors. In other words, specific functions of the mind. Specific functions of the mind, we call them mental factors. And the mental factors, there are so many innumerable mental factors. Of these innumerable mental factors, there are two mental factors which are extremely important. One is the mental factor of feeling, because this function of the mind, to feel, the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, and so forth. This feeling, this decides all our actions. All our actions are decided by the feelings. If you feel happy, you'll embrace it. Action of embracing. If you feel unhappy, you run away. This is aversion. So this movement is all our actions are determined by this feeling. So the feeling plays a very important role. Therefore, the feeling is allocated as a separate aggregate of feeling. And then the next one is the aggregate of discrimination. Discrimination has, of course, multiple meanings. One is like a very negative, the gender discrimination, racial discrimination, which is very bad. But here, discrimination here does not have that connotation. Discrimination here is the mental capacity to distinguish things. Mental capacity to distinguish things. This is what we call as the discrimination, mental factor of discrimination pertaining to the mental functions. Okay, so this discrimination plays a very important role to which decides the quality of a life. The quality of a life. Some people are Buddhas, some people are Bodhisattvas, some people are say the Sharvakas, Pratik Buddhas, some people are the VC, some people Nobel laureates, some people are ordinary people like us. These are all decided by the sharpness of your discrimination. Sharpness of a discrimination. So this discrimination decides the quality of a life. It's very important. Very important because of its importance. It is ascribed as a separate aggregate of discrimination. And all the remaining functions of the mind, all the remaining mental factors are put together as in one group known as the aggregate of compositional factors. Okay, total we have 5 aggregates. In other words, we are made of 5 aggregates. And after the class, I would suggest you to kindly reflect on the 5 aggregates in terms of, the identifying your compositions. What are you composed of? That I'm composed of 5 aggregates. And how? What are the 5 aggregates? Okay, this I like you to do as take that as your homework. Okay, so we are made of 5 aggregates. Now, if you're made of 5 aggregates, let's say that, okay, and let's say that let's say that there are 5. Let's say that, okay, let's say that there are 5 mobiles. Let's say that there are 5 mobiles, and then I'm looking for iPhone. And then you say that, yeah, I have 5 mobiles and these are iPhones, right? So what I do, I go and see which of the 5 mobiles is iPhone, and I see that they are all like Samsung or Oppo or whatever, right? The Micromax and so forth. Okay, if there's the iPhone there, there are only 5 phones. There are only 5 phones. One of them, at least one of them, should be iPhone, but none of them is iPhone. Likewise, if there's a self, there are only 5 aggregates. At least one of the aggregates should be the self. If none of the aggregates is the self, then there's no self there at all. So what is the self? Where's the self? So Vaibhashika says that, yes, that's true. What we really see within us is, I'm just made of 5 aggregates. And then besides the 5 aggregates, there's no self there. So they say that all the 5 aggregates are self. All the 5 aggregates are self. You're getting it? Because either do you say that all 5 aggregates are self, or there's no self. If you say there's no self, then this contradicts with the teachings of the Buddha, and they are following the Buddha's teachings. Vaibhashikas, particularly Vaibhashikas, they follow the Buddha's teachings verbatim. Verbatim meaning on the face value. They don't want to interpret, rationalize, right? They will try their best, but then they are not so keen, unlike the other Buddhist schools. So they say that if you say that the self does not exist, then it contradicts with the Buddha's teachings. Self exists. Then if you say the self does exist, it's just only 5 aggregates. Which of the aggregates is self? Then they said that, okay, all the 5 aggregates are self. This is one version. Then some Vaibhashikas who are a little more sophisticated, they say that, okay, it is out of the 5 aggregates, it's not all the 5 aggregates. It is only the aggregate of consciousness. Aggregate consciousness is the self. aggregate of consciousness is a self. Okay. And then and still Vaibhashika is not like, although we speak about the Vaibhashika as sort of one concrete the Tenet system, within that there are many divisions. And some say that continuum, 5 aggregates are not the self. Continuum of the 5 aggregates is the self. Okay, we must learn all these distinctions. This will make our mind sharper. You getting it? And this, the ability to look for the nuances and the distinctions, make our mind sharp and clear. And this is what we're going to take to study emptiness eventually. Okay. So there are like 3 versions of what the self is, according even within the Vaibhashika school. Okay, this says about this self. Next is the consciousness. The subject classified into 3 groups: the self, the consciousness, and the labels or the terms. The second, the consciousness. For your information, they say how this word, English word consciousness, is borrowed by the Buddhist psychologists and many of the other Indian psychologists, non-Buddhist psychologists like Jainism, the Samkhya, Vedanta, Mimamsaka, Nyaya. So how they borrow this word consciousness from the English, and how the Buddhists borrow this word consciousness from the English is slightly different, because the Buddhists borrow this word the consciousness to refer to the mind, not the person, to the mind. Whereas how this word consciousness is understood is borrowed in the context of the non-Buddhist traditions like Jainism, Vedanta, Samkhya, Mimamsaka, all these traditions. The consciousness, they refer to the Atma, or the self. Okay, this distinction we must make. We're not to, simply because somebody is using the word consciousness doesn't mean that the person is referring to the mind. So we have to see the background of the person. If the person is talking in the context of Buddhism, then of course it refers to mind. In the context of the non-Buddhist traditions, then they are referring to the self. Okay, or the Atman, precisely Atman. And then within within the English-speaking disciplines, let's say neuroscience or psychology, Western psychology, and so forth, what does it mean by consciousness? Okay, in most cases, the consciousness they refer to as the empirical mind, and that too not all the minds, way described in the Buddhism. It is more like the particular mind which has sense of awareness. Okay, I'm conscious of myself, right? When I'm deep sleep, we don't say that I'm conscious of myself. When we're in deep sleep, or when we faint, we say, okay, the person's unconscious. Whereas in Buddhist psychology, the consciousness refers, this word consciousness, borrowed from English, refers to the mind, and the mind exists even when the person is unconscious. You getting it? Okay, so the distinctions we have to learn. Okay. Now the consciousness, the consciousness. Okay, Buddhist psychology. Okay, so I don't want to go too detailed into the consciousness part now, because we are yet to study the Buddhist psychology. So maybe after the Tenet system, then we'll touch the Buddhist. We will see whether to do the Buddhist psychology or what. Okay, the consciousness, and then the next is the term, the sound. Meaning that, for example, let's say that the how when I say that I want a flower, I want water, what I use is just I use the labels. And these labels are the terms. These labels are what made me to use these labels. They are the representation of my consciousness, of what my mind is thinking. In my mind, I'm thinking of a flower. I want it. Then I express it. I make this thought expressed in words on labels. I want flower. So this is label. Okay, good. Okay. Then the next, the object, subject. These two combined together is the basis. So we just the Vaibhashika presented the basis roughly done. Next is the path, the basis, the path, and the result. Okay, the path. The path. To understand what the path is, it comes under there are three subheadings. And the object of the path. Okay, the Tinshigara, do you have this one? Okay, thank you. The assertions on the path has three parts. The objects of path, objects to be abandoned by the path, the nature of the path. Okay, so this I will explain very quickly. When you speak about, okay, first let us say, when you speak about the Dharma practice or spirituality or Dharma practice in general, and then more specifically with the achieving Buddhahood, achieving Nirvana, and so forth. It's about your mind. It's about your mind. It's not really about anything else. It's about your mind. That your mind should be transformed. So when the mind should be transformed means you have one set of mind, the which embodies or which they represent samsara, which represents sentient beings, which represents samsara. What mindset is there, which represents samsara? What is the samsaric mind? Samsaric mind. So this mind, say it has two sides. One is that, okay, let's say that if I'm too keen on chocolate, particularly Swiss chocolate, then in my examples, every time I speak about chocolate, right? And then somebody brings this mobile and say, "Is this a chocolate?" Right? And so every time this is coming out. So there, my mind, the chocolate becomes the object, and my mind is the subject. Object and the subject. You're getting it? And let's say that. Let's say a mother, and a child, a mother and a child. Say the child is a very young child. Say there are many young children who are sent to boarding school, and they meet with their parents only after 9 months, or in some cases like 10 months. And look at the children's mind, so particularly young children, age 5, 6, 7, 8, their longing towards the parents is so much. Whenever they see some visitors, it's my mother, it's my father, right? This is what comes to the children's mind. Okay, and when you see the another child's parents coming to visit the child, then the child just thinks about one's own parents, right? Okay, this is what happens. So which means that the mind has this object there. So, and say when you have the object, what kind of object? That decides whether you are in samsara state or you are in a nirvana state. What kind of object you have? You're getting it? When the object is distorted, say this is a flower, right? I said, wow, a wonderful Swiss chocolate, right? You'll say that something's wrong with him. You're getting it? Something's wrong with him. Okay. So whereas if you say that, okay, this is, just look at this, the flower. Oh, this is this flower. Oh, I can see that. Yeah, this is a flower made in Singapore, right? Which means I'm very precise. Not only just a flower, but made. Look at the beauty. Look at the quality of this. It's made in Singapore, right? Okay, it's not made in other places. It's made in Singapore. So there, okay, this person's very particular. He is very much into aesthetics, right? So whereas, oh, there's a chocolate there, something is wrong with him. You're getting it? So the object. So when you see the flower as a chocolate, the object is, the flower as a chocolate is your object. So it's not true. It's not true. So the mind is distorted. Whereas, oh, this is not a chocolate, this is a flower. I know this is a flower. Not only this is a flower, this is from Singapore. Singapore made by the Sweet Kim's company. Right? From Swiggy's company, I can see that. Right? When I say, wow, he's so particular. You're getting it? So particular, he's not crazy. Okay. So the object decides. Object decides. Okay, now when you say that, for example, okay, let's say that, okay, this is a chocolate. From there, seeing the flower as a chocolate, you have to change his mind to see this as a flower as a flower. You're getting it? Flower as a flower. Your mind is to be changed. Okay, my hand, same hand. My hand picks up the flower. My hand picks up a dirty object. You're getting it? So instead of picking up the dirty things, you start picking up nice things. Instead of picking up wrong objects, you start picking up the correct objects. You're getting it? Okay. So it says, object of the path. Usually as samsaric beings, what do we see? We see impermanent things as permanent. We see miserable things as happiness. We see impure things as pure. We see the selfless phenomena as of selfhood. This is what we are. So now we have to change the object from viewing impermanent as permanent to impermanent as impermanent. We have to change the objects. So it says objects of the path. What we have, the objects that we use, objects that we perceive as the samsaric beings, we perceive, that object must be dropped and pick up the nicer objects. Usually, I encourage some of my relatives, my friends, young boys and girls. I encourage them to read books. Read books. But there are so many kinds of books, right? Some useless books and some very meaningful books. Some which will really make your English even more terrible, right? Yeah, some books, I don't know what kind of authors write those books. English, just terrible English. And some, they are so beautiful English. So I said that don't read those, the comics with the broken English, right? Read the standard books. Read the standard books. Okay, within the books, we see that some are very standard, some are very low standard. So likewise, the objects. So your mind, because your mind is a subject, it should have an object. You're getting this, very important. Because your mind is a subject, it should have an object. But my Bhaskas, they have the unique presentations where the mind without the object is also discussed. But generally speaking, the mind should have an object. Generally speaking, mind should have an object, and we pick up wrong objects. Now, to become enlightened, because we pick up wrong objects, we suffer. So we are advised to pick up the correct objects. So what should be the objects to be picked up when you are on the path? Path means to change from the path, to change you from suffering to nirvana, to change you from samsara to nirvana. So there, how to change it? By changing the object. You change the object. You getting it? Okay. So let's say that okay, how many have that experience? So when you look at the see around, you see things with your direct eyes, and then the moment you put in the glasses, then the objects that you see around, they become, you know, they will pick up the sharpness, the edge. How many of you notice that? The clarity. Okay, when I was very young, I think age like 10, 11, 12, I had I think around like 12 or 13, I had the dictionary, Webster's English Dictionary, a small pocket dictionary, which was presented to me by my friend who left for America. And the letters there, inside the letters, they were extremely tiny. And my father, when my father saw this dictionary with me, my father, he must be in his 50s. Then he must be very curious. He must be very curious that the letters he could not really see. He did not say anything. And he asked me just, Dorji, read it. And I just opened it and read it. I read it so fast. He was so fascinated. He said that you have such a sharp eyes. Then I became 40, 12, then 20, 30. Then I became 40. And then I thought that it was my same eyes, which my father appreciated. And then I saw what I'm seeing, that is the reality, I thought. Then at one point, I just accidentally picked up somebody's glasses, put it on, and I see things so sharp. When I see things very sharp and clear, very strange, the feeling inside changes. There's a tremendous feeling of joy coming, a very pleasant feeling coming in me to see the clarity. Okay, so the point is that when you see things very clearly, what we otherwise we see as permanent, impermanent things as permanent, the moment we shifted from seeing impermanence permanent to seeing impermanence impermanent, this is the meaning of you following the path. Seeing the permanent, seeing impermanence permanent, this is samsara. And then how to go from samsara to nirvana? Change your object from change your object from what is impermanence permanent to impermanence impermanent. Change that. You're heading towards nirvana. Likewise, say the suffering, we see suffering as happiness. We see suffering as happiness, we're trapped in samsara. Because happiness, we don't want to leave, we want to experience it. And then if we see suffering as happiness, we'll constantly be trapped by this. What is that? Then suffering. So we're trapped in suffering because of misconception of suffering as happiness. Now, if you really want to get out of samsara, then see the suffering as suffering, not as happiness. So our perception is suffering as happiness. Change it from suffering as happiness to suffering as suffering. Then likewise, impure is pure to impure is impure. And then finally, seeing the selfless nature as selfhood to selfless nature as selfless nature. Okay, this is how we have to shift. In other words, we study the four things. The four seals, we studied, not studied. Four seals we studied. Okay, four seals we studied. All composite things impermanent. For us, it's opposite. All composite things are permanent. Right? Our perceptions, all composite things are permanent. Right? Okay. Sometimes some people, they have only one month to go. 1 month, and then the whole scenario will be changed. But the person is unnecessarily creating tension and depression. Oh no, I'm in this situation. I thought that he was going to be in this situation for like 10 years. Then I checked, right? I sympathized. I'm very sorry. So how long will you be in this situation? 1 month, 1 moment. Just 1 month. Just 1 month. Why should you have to worry? You're torturing yourself. Just think of the next month. Time will fly, right? seeing 1 month as permanent, right? If you see it as transitory, your mind will be released of unnecessary tensions. So see impermanent as permanent, unnecessary creates problem, right? And then the all composite things impermanent, number one. Number two, all contaminated things are suffering nature. While the contaminated things are suffering nature, we see them as happiness, right? We see them as, yes, that's very true. That's very true. Say, for example, you have your daily practice to do, daily practice, and then you are watching a movie, and as your time for the practice, okay, now the only 10 minutes, and the movie becomes more interesting. If you don't have the practice, then the movie is very boring. If the practice do, the time is coming for your practice, then the movie becomes more interesting. Or no, I should finish this, right? Yeah, and then yeah, so this is saying the contaminated things as happiness. It's just self-deception. Number two. Then number three, say the everything is the nature of emptiness and selflessness. So I'm sure we discuss about the emptiness and selflessness separately. So this emptiness is about viewing the impure things as pure, right? So this misperception corrected by viewing the impure things as empty or being pure. You're getting emptiness. Viewing impure things, we should learn how to view the impure things as empty of pure, being pure. Okay. Then the selflessness, viewing what is selfless nature, viewing what is empty of selfhood as of the nature of selfhood. Viewing what is the empty of selfhood as selfhood, we change it to viewing the what is empty of selfhood as the selflessness. Okay, this is this how we have to shift our misperception of the object to the correct perception of object. Okay, and what are the correct perceptions of the objects? What are the correct objects? The objects which you should view correctly. What are the objects? So they are the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths, and each of the Four Noble Truths, they have the four attributes to each of the Four Noble Truths. Each of the Four Noble Truths have their own four attributes. So total there are 16. 4 into 4, 16. Okay, the first, okay, didn't you we finished the 16 attributes? Not yet. Okay, don't worry. These 16 attributes we have to study in great detail. And and if you want to just identify what the 16 attributes are, okay, the truth of the suffering. Truth of suffering, we did it already, like the impermanence. Okay, truth of suffering has 4 attributes. Truth of cause of suffering has 4 attributes. And the truth of the cessation suffering is 4 attributes. Likewise, the path leading to cessation. Each one of them have the 4 attributes. Okay, if you want to have them, let me indicate what they are. You want them or you don't want them? Or you want to do it later? Later? Raise hands. Later? Okay, or you want them right now? Okay, more like right now. Okay, so say the first noble truth of suffering has 4 attributes. The first one is impermanence. Then number 2, suffering. Then number 3, the selflessness or the emptiness, and then the selflessness. Okay, then the cause of suffering. The first one is cause. Then number 2 is the cause of all. The first one is cause or the origin, same. Cause. Number 2 is the cause of all. Then the number 3 is rigorous producer or rigorous cause. Then the number 4 is condition. Let me say this again. The first one is a cause. Then number 2 is the cause of all. The cause of all, A-L-L. Then number 3 is the rigorous producer. Number 3, rigorous producer. Then number 4 is condition. Okay, then the truth of the cessation of suffering. Number 3, the first one is cessation. Then number 2 is peace. Then number 3 is abundance or excellence. Number 3, abundance or excellence. Then the definite deliverance. Number 4, definite deliverance. Let me say this again. The first one is cessation. Then the number 2 is peace. Number 3 is abundance or excellence. And number 4 is definite deliverance. Definite deliverance. This is number 4. Then finally, the truth of the path leading to cessation. The first one is path. Number 2 is realization. The path, realization. Then number 3 is practice. Then the definite deliverer. Okay, the truth of the path leading to cessation. 4 aspects. Number 1, the path. Then realization. Number 2, realization. Then number 3 is practice. Number 4, definite deliverer. Definite deliverer or definite liberator. You can just give the choice. Definite deliverer or definite liberator. So these are the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths. And say, according to Vaibhashika, what should be the object when you say that I'm meditating to traverse along the path? You should be meditating on an object. What kind of object is required? So these are the 16 objects that we need to have. This is about the object. Then the next one is objects to be abandoned by the path. Say, for example, as you go along the path, as you practice Dharma more and more, then say your anger subsides, your attachment subsides, and then the arrogance subsides. There are the bad habits subsiding, bad habits being abandoned. So what are those things to be abandoned? What are those things to be abandoned? Number 2, objects to be abandoned by the path. As you practice the Dharma, as you go from samsara to nirvana, you should be leaving something. You should leave something so that so what defines samsara, you should leave them. What defines samsara should be left behind. They should be abandoned, right? Objects to be abandoned by the path, meaning that you have to abandon what defines samsara. And what we learned, we learned the same concept from different the angles. One angle which we learned is about did we go through this one? How many of you are familiar with this verse from Aranagarjuna? The ceasing of karmas and afflictions is nirvana. Karmas and afflictions arise from conceptualization, which in turn arises from elaboration. Elaboration ceases through the wisdom of emptiness. How many of you have heard this stanza? Raise hands. Very good, all of you. Okay, Niraji, you heard this stanza or not?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So we all heard this stanza. So from this stanza, what we said is that in more detail explanation, the first one, the 5 points. The first one is samsara or misery, and the remaining 4 are the causes of miseries. And the remaining 4, the causes of miseries, number 1 is contaminated karmas. Then next, what are the next? Anybody raise hands? What are the 4 causes indicated? Okay, Anna Sophie?
contaminated karma, affliction, inappropriate attention. Oh, sorry.
Okay, one is missing. Anybody? Laura, you want to add? Ignorance, self-grasping ignorance. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so these four, contaminated karmas, afflictions, inappropriate attention, self-grasping ignorance, this is more precisely from the Madhyamika point of view, more precisely from the Madhyamika point of view. But of course, we can relate this to Chittamatra, other schools as well, but more from Nagarjuna's text. If we are to sum up these four causes into two, what are they? Anybody? Raise hands. If you have to sum up these four into two, what are they? Anybody? Anybody? Abelardo?
Of grasping, ignorance, and self-centered attitude.
Okay, self-grasping is self-centered attitude. Carolyn Ming? Same?
Same.
Okay, sadhana? Okay, unmute yourself.
Karmas and afflictions.
Karmas and afflictions. Niraji?
Four would be the causes ending up in samsara, which is
yes.
State.
So these four causes can be summarized into two. What are the two?
The causes and the resultant state.
No. Five can be summarized into two. Cause and result. The four causes can be summarized into two. What are they?
Oh, that us.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, the Jane.
I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
Jane?
Yeah.
Jane? Unmute.
Yes, sorry. I agree. Self-grasping ignorance and self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. I agree.
Okay, Jane. And then who else now? Chart?
I was thinking contaminated karmas and afflictions.
Okay, contaminated karmas and afflictions. So now they are, we break into two groups. One who said self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. Other group saying contaminated karmas and afflictions. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so what I would say is that self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitude. Self-centered attitude, we cannot really put it into the affliction, the causes of the suffering. Meaning, say purely for the cause of suffering, it is not necessary that we have to get rid of the self-centered attitude. Although self-centered attitude does contribute to the suffering, but to remove the suffering, it is not necessary to get rid of the centered attitude. So these 4 points: self-grasping ignorance, then the inappropriate attention, afflictions. These 3 can be grouped as afflictions. And then the 4th one, contaminated karmas, keep it separate. In other words, all these 4 points can be summarized into 2: contaminated karmas and afflictions. You're getting it? Okay, this is very important. Now, finally, what should be abandoned by the path in order for you to traverse from samsara to nirvana? What should be abandoned? We have to leave something, right? We have to leave something. What can we leave? We can leave the contaminated karmas and the afflictions. This is one thing. This is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Now, this presentation, contaminated karmas and afflictions, to be left behind, to be abandoned by the path towards liberation. That is something which is explained by all the Buddhist schools alike. Now, what is so unique about the Vaibhashika? This is the point. Okay, this I like to share with you This is what we learned it already. The same thing is presented in from another way. In another way, that is that we talked about the mental defilements, which stop the glow of the gold. We are getting it. Mental defilements which stop the glow of the Buddha nature. What blocks the Buddha nature from glowing or manifesting as a Buddha is by the mental defilements. What stops the gold from glowing is the mud. What stops the glow of the Buddha nature from manifesting as Buddha is the mental defilements. And this mental defilements is of two kinds. Defilements are of two kinds: the gross and the subtle. The gross one, the metaphor is solid garlic. Did you hear this example? A solid garlic. And the subtle one is the smell of the garlic. You're getting it? Solid garlic. Okay, in the very generally speaking, from a Buddhist point, in the very general speaking, this solid garlic is the metaphor for what? Anybody? Very quick. Anybody? Yes, chart.
Afflictions.
Afflictions, Jyoti. Jyoti, unmute. Unmute. Okay, there is a little problem with the Jyoti-ji's thing.
Yeah, can you hear me, Geshe-la?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Afflictive obscurations.
Very good. Okay, let us be very precise. You're getting a chart. Okay, don't just call it afflictions, call it afflictive obscurations. Okay, anybody? What's wrong with, what is incompleteness there? Or what is wrong with it? Not really wrong. I would say it's incomplete. Okay, so they say the gross garlic is the metaphor for afflictions. This is what the one person, some say. Others say this solid garlic is a metaphor for the afflictive obscurations. Okay, what's the problem if you say that, if I say that this metaphor, the solid garlic is a metaphor for just afflictions? What's the problem? Anybody? Raise hands. Okay, the Minoti-ji.
Geshe-la, because afflictions are of two kinds. There are afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations.
Okay, afflictions are two kinds. Who taught you this?
I think I read it somewhere, if I'm not wrong, in the course.
Okay, yeah, you're so kind. At least don't tell other people that Geshe Dojran taught us this. We learned and we see, right? Don't say that. Okay, let us listen. Let us listen to other people. Okay, anybody? 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 Huh? Anybody? Okay, the Andre?
Yes, Geshe-la. If you just mention afflictions, it does not include the contaminated karmas. But if you mention
Very good. Very good. Thank you. So it is not just affliction. It also includes the contaminated karmas. You're getting it? So combined together becomes the afflictive obscurations. Afflictive obscurations is of three kinds. In the loose sense, two kinds. In strict sense, three kinds. Loose sense, two. What are they? Contaminated karmas and afflictions. In strict sense, three. What are they? Contaminated karmas, afflictions, and the active seeds of the two. Active seeds of the two. Okay. Now, anybody who would like to tell me the smell of the garlic, it's metaphor for what? Anybody, very quick? Anybody raise your hands? Raise your hands. Okay. Raise hands. Raise hands. Raise hands. Okay, Laura.
Smell of the garlic is referring to cognitive obscurations.
Okay, cognitive obscurations. Ravi Kumar.
It's self-cherishing attitude.
Okay, it refers to self-cherishing attitude. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, the Annie Sophie.
it refers to the inactive seed of contaminated karma and affliction.
Okay, so we have three versions. The number one is cognitive obscurations. Number two is the self-cherishing mind. Number three is the inactive seeds of the contaminant karmas and afflictions. Okay, is there any third version? Any third version? No third version. Okay, how many agree with the first one? The smell of the garlic refers to the cognitive obscurations. Okay, how many agree with the second one? Smell of garlic refers to the inactive seeds of the contaminant karmas and afflictions. Okay, how many agree with the third one? It refers to the self-centered attitude. Okay, so let's say number one and number two, cognitive obscurations and the inactive seeds of the contaminant karmas and afflictions. These two are synonymous. It's just a different way of presentation. These two are synonymous. And self-centered attitude, this is a very interesting topic that we all have to keep in mind. Let us not just discard it like this. Self-centered attitude, what we can say is self-centered attitude is the outcome, is the manifestation of the contaminated, cognitive obscurations. Is the manifestation, particularly the subtle self-centered attitude. A subtle self-centered attitude is the manifestation. For example, the arahats, they have this self-centered attitude. They don't have the afflictive obscurations, but they still have the cognitive obscurations. They still have the self-centered attitude. So this self-centered attitude, whether or not it is the cognitive obscurations, this is a little questionable. This is what we have to explore more. But for sure, what we can say is that this is the manifestation, outcome of the cognitive obscurations. And if you say cognitive obscurations, the active seeds, the inactive seeds of the contaminant karmas and the afflictions, that is perfectly all right. Okay, good. Now, let me jump to the objects to be abandoned by the path, right? Afflictive obscurations, cognitive obscurations, this is what we have learned. Now, what is the unique presentation of this school, Vaibhashika school? This is what we have to learn, right? So, generally speaking, we have learned that what are the things to be abandoned, mental defilements to be abandoned, is of two kinds: afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. But what is the unique presentation of this goal? This goal talks about okay, this is very interesting. Afflictive ignorance and the non-afflictive ignorance. Okay, this is a unique vocabulary. Afflictive ignorance and the non-afflictive ignorance. Okay, afflictive ignorance referring to the gross, the solid garlic line. Okay, now let us not mix up the terminologies. Thus far, the terminologies that we use, like afflictive obscurations, cognitive obscuration, this is from a very general Buddhist presentation and more precisely from the other schools like Chittamatra, Madhyamika, right? But from the Vaibhashika, precisely from Vaibhashika, their terminology is afflictive ignorance and the non-afflictive ignorance. Okay. And the afflictive ignorance is the gross mental defilements within us which hamper us from achieving nirvana. Okay. Then the non-afflictive ignorance. What do you mean by non-afflictive ignorance? This is a question. The Vaibhashikas, they point to four kinds of non-afflictive ignorance. Four kinds of non-afflictive ignorance. One is the non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the distance. Pertaining to the distance, number one. Then number two, pertaining to time. Then number three, the pertaining to the subtle karmic law of karma, subtle law of karma. And pertaining to the numerosity of the classifications, pertaining to the numerosity of the classifications. Okay, the non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the distance in space, and number 2, distance in time. Then number 3, the subtle law of karma. Then number 4, the numerosity of the classifications. Okay, instead of classifications, numerosity of the aspects. Numerosity of the aspects. Okay. So these four, particularly with the first two, they are the anecdotes. There are anecdotes there. Anecdotes at the time of the Buddha, where the arahats, they already abandoned mental defilements, and they say the karma. They have already abandoned the afflictions. Okay, not mental defilements. They have already abandoned the afflictions. But for the karma, so the karma, the moment they die, they leave this body, then the remaining karma, contaminant karmas, will be left automatically. So this is not an issue. So what they have is, they still have some ignorance. Ignorance is an active state of the mind. Ignorance is an active state of the mind. They still have the ignorance. What are these ignorance? These 4 ignorances are there. Ignorance otherwise is afflictive ignorance, right? For example, let's say we see the impermanent phenomena as permanent. This is ignorance. We see the suffering nature as happiness. This is also ignorance. So these are the afflictive ignorance. Now there's another set of ignorance which are non-afflictive. Why non-afflictive? Because they are with the arahats. Even the arahats have these ignorance. So therefore they are non-afflictive. If they are afflictive, the arahats should have abandoned them. So what are the first one, the non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the distance in space. So that's what happened at the time of the Buddha. What happened was that Mugalayana, the disciple of the Buddha, who was known as the one with the greatest miracle power, the disciple of the Buddha, who was known for being the one with the greatest miracle power. Mugalayana, he was so keen, his mother passed away, and he was so keen to locate where his mother had taken birth, so that he can go there and help the mother to again, transform, practice dharma, and to achieve nirvana. So this was what Mugalayana was trying to do. Despite the fame for being the one with the greatest miracle power, through his meditative samadhi miracle power, he was trying to track where his mother had taken birth. He could not. He was already arhat. He was already arhat, but he could not track where the mother had taken birth. He could not track the place where the mother had taken birth. Okay, so then the matter was reported to the Buddha, and the Buddha, without the second thought, just on the spot, identified the place. Okay, in this world system, Buddha instantly identified the place. In this world system, your mother had taken birth there. And then Mugalayana, because the Buddha helped him identify that spot, so he, through his miracle power, he left there to help the mother. So why Mugalayana could not? He was already arhat, but why he could not locate the place where the mother had taken birth? Because the location was too far away in space, too far away that his clairvoyance cannot reach it. His miracle power cannot reach there. For example, say let's say the magnets. Okay, let's say the torch. Okay, my question to you, just give an answer. a torch, hand torch, the torch, how long can it reach? Half a kilometer or 1 kilometer or 10 kilometer or what? Anybody? How long will this torch, reach? What distance it can reach? Anybody?
Around
Gayatri, yes.
meters.
Gayatri ji?
Power of the battery.
Oh, it depends on power of the battery. Okay, power of the battery. Then the Ravi ji?
Maximum of around 300 meters.
Okay, 300 meters, not beyond. Okay, 300 meters. Anybody else? Anybody else? No idea. Okay, the Swikim, no idea. Singapore, you don't need the torch. Huh? Okay.
If there's no dispersion of the light, then it should be infinite.
Say it again.
If there's no dispersion of the light, it should be infinite.
No, they say it again. It depends on.
No, it's okay. Never mind. It's alright.
Okay, Lianchu, you never use a torch, right? You use a torch. So how long can it shine? What distance can it shine?
The regular hand torch, the one that you hold in your hand, is very short distance.
Like what?
I don't know, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet.
Okay, 10, 20 feet, 30 feet. Okay, anybody else?
That's all.
Okay,
Hand torch.
Kelly?
Vishina, the torch light will reach. It depends on the battery and depends on how far I can walk with it. If I walk a kilometer, it will reach more than a kilometer.
If you don't walk, sit, just sit in one place, static, then
it will just about 10 feet, 20 feet.
10 feet. Okay, Jane?
It depends on the brightness and the clarity.
Okay, brightness, clarity, and if the focus is not there, it's very bright, very clear, but if the focus is not there, then okay. So basically, I agree with most of you. You say that it depends on the battery, it depends on the sophistication of the bulb, it depends on the focus, the clarity, all this combined together, that decides. We cannot say that the torch, some torch are very good, some torch are very good. Methane, for example. Okay, I don't want to say that. Right? Some torch are very good. It can reach very far away. Some torch are terrible. It can reach only like 1 meter, 2 meters. Right? Okay. So it depends. There's no the fixed answer. Likewise, the clairvoyance, the miracle power. How far this miracle, what distance the miracle power can see. It depends on your miracle power. Some have a greater miracle power, some have less miracle power. You're getting it? Okay. So the arahats, the greatest of the miracle power the arahats have is demonstrated by Mughlayana. Even his miracle power cannot see where his mother had taken birth. Whereas the Buddha could see that. So that ignorance is there. This ignorance is there with the arahat. That ignorance is known as the non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the distance in space. You're getting it? Pertaining to distance in space. Number one. Then the number two. What is the number two? Anybody? Very quick. What is the number two of non-afflictive? The ignorance. Yes. Okay. Niraji. Pertaining to the distance and time. Okay. So this, again, what happened was at the time of the Buddha, Shariputra, we have to keep in mind that how many have seen the painting of the Buddha or the statue of the Buddha with two monks on his two sides? How many have seen that? Raise hands. See, how many of you have seen either the painting or the statue of Buddha with the two monks standing on his two sides? How many have seen that? Raise hands. Okay, how many of you have not seen that? Raise your hands. Okay, Anusophi, you have never seen that. That's strange. In Kala Chakra Center, I saw that. Okay, okay. So you must learn, you must see that. You must see that there are two monks standing next to the Buddha. So the one on the right side was Shariputra. One on the left side was Mugalayana. Why Mugalayana, Shariputra, these two are so important was that Mugalayana was being respected as the as the disciple of the Buddha who had the greatest miracle power. And Shariputra became very important for the reason that he was the disciple of the Buddha who had the greatest intelligence. Okay, so these two are depicted as the two monks on the two sides of the Buddha. And now on the Shariputra, what happened was that there was the okay. These are the anecdotes that we need to know. There was one elderly man, and he had about like 3 or 4 sons, and all the three, he was already 80 years old, and his sons were all got married, and he had the 3 or 4 the daughters-in-law. And the complication was that as the gentleman, he became older, then the tendency is that the person, they say the what, the cleanliness, precision, all these things disappear. So the person becomes a little casual, and also that because little old age is your body is not that as active as what used to be, and because of which the daughters-in-law, they were not too happy with their father-in-law. And the father-in-law, maybe his mistake also, he must be spitting here and there, right? He doesn't know what to go out, so he must be spitting. So maybe it was little, so because of him there, the daughters-in-law, they were not really happy. So they were in a way like pushing their husbands to they kick out their father-in-law. So the husbands, meaning the sons, they kicked out the father, and the father already 80. What can he do? He cannot start any business or any work, so he was just roaming around, and he was almost like starving. And people came to know about it, and the people told him that, okay, at least you become monk, and then you get food. Then he went to Shariputra and requested Shariputra, please make a monk. And in those days, unlike today, in those days, they are all these, the arhats who have the clairvoyance, they were there. They will check whether you are competent whether you have the merit to become monastic. And then Shariputra said that Shariputra just sat in his samadhi to see what his degree of his merit. And Shariputra declined, said that you are not entitled to become a monk because you don't have the merit. This is known as the virtue of the liberation. Okay, virtue, okay, virtue similitude of nirvana. A virtue which is similitude of nirvana. This is a technical term. Tharba chadnyungi geza. Okay, root of virtue, not just virtue. Root of virtue, similitude of nirvana. Tharba chadnyungi geza. So that is required. And then Shariputra declined. You cannot. You don't have that, the root of virtue for nirvana. Then he, like a small child, he started to cry, and he went directly to the Buddha. He bypassed all the other arhats. He went to the Buddha. And the Buddha said, what happened? And he said that Shariputra declined to make me a monastic, a monk. And the Buddha said, no, don't worry. Don't worry. Then I think the Buddha handed him over to Ananda. Ananda make him the monk. So he became monk. So the question is that the Buddha instantly saw the root of the virtue similitude of the nirvana in this gentleman, but the Shariputra could not see that. So what is that root of virtue which this, okay, this is very important for all of us. What is that root of virtue which is similitude of the nirvana, which this monk, which this elderly gentleman accumulated, which Shariputra cannot see, which the Buddha saw right away, was that many aeons ago, many aeons ago, there were like two stories. Many aeons ago, this gentleman took birth as a fly. As a fly meaning, say fly, the fruit flies, fly, and the fly accidentally happened to land on a cow dung, the dry cow dung, and the cow dung accidentally happened to be washed away by the rainwater. And this rainwater, which was washing away the cow dung on which the fly landed, this cow dung accidentally happened, and this rainwater accidentally happened to take round of the Buddha Kasyapa's the stupa where the Buddha Kasyapa's the relics was there. So look, this is all accidental. Number one, the fly accidentally happened to be on the cow dung, dry cow dung. And the dry cow dung accidentally happened to be washed away by the rainwater. And the rainwater accidentally happened to take round of the stupa where the Buddha Kashyap's these relics were there. So that was the root of virtue. Root of virtue, similitude to nirvana. This was the virtue that this gentleman accumulated when he was just, born many eons ago in time, that he was born as a fly, and this is the merit accumulated. So from this, one lesson that we take is that, say the virtues that we do, virtues can be, of course, virtues are for the good. Virtues will ripen into the happy results, and happy results of two kinds: samsaric happy results and the nirvana happy results. Virtues which ripen as happy results within samsara, virtues which ripen as happy results, good results, noble results in the form of nirvana. And except for few virtues, like 99.999% of the virtues which we do, who do not have the realization of emptiness. Our virtues were all about samsaric virtues. They will never take us to nirvana. You're getting it? So therefore, this is where the wisdom of emptiness plays a very important role. And the exception given was that the virtue, so here, this gentleman, as a fly, he accumulated this root virtue, similitude nirvana, which means root of virtue which can take the individual to nirvana. That was connected to the Buddha Kashyap's relics, Buddha's relics. So these are the rare virtues which accumulated related to the previous Buddhas. That will make us, equip us to take birth, to ripen this virtue in nirvana. It's very rare. You're getting it? So from this lesson, what we should know is that the Buddha relics, they are so precious for us. Whenever we get opportunity to go to places where the Buddha relics are there, to make it a point not to miss the opportunity, to pay respect and to do prayers and to meditate emptiness, bodhicitta, the four seals, Yedharma mantra, and to pray to this particular relics as though like the real Buddha is there. Real Buddha is there, and these virtues will turn into the virtues of the nirvana or the Buddhahood. You're getting it? This is so precious. These are the lessons that we take alongside. This is one thing. So this is Whereas Shariputra could not identify this virtue that this gentleman had, which the Buddha identified instantly. So why Shariputra could not identify that? Because of the ignorance, non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the distance in time. Because this gentleman accumulated this virtue many aeons in time, remotely, far remote in time, that Shariputra's clairvoyance cannot see that. Okay, so this is the second of non-afflictive ignorance. And the third one is pertaining to the subtle karmic cause and effect relation, the subtle law of karma. Subtle law of karma, this is something which only the Buddhas can see, not the Arahats. So that is the third kind of ignorance, the non-afflictive ignorance. And the fourth one is the numerosity of the aspects of the aspects of things. Saying to know every atom of the universe, to know everything of the universe is so numerous that the Arhats cannot see. It is only the Buddhas who can see. So that is known as the non-afflictive ignorance pertaining to the numerosity of the aspects of the phenomena. Okay, so these are so these two things, afflictive ignorance and the non-afflictive ignorance, these are the two things to be abandoned by the path when you proceed from samsara to nirvana or to Buddhahood. Okay. Then the next one is, okay. So the next one, the nature of the path. The nature of the path we'll do the next class. Okay, any questions? Okay, Abelardo.
This is the question I had last week.
Yes.
My internet disappeared. So my question is, why did you classify relationships as permanent phenomena? I don't understand why.
Okay,
Because I would,
so
yeah.
let us not worry too much. Okay, let's say that me and my mother was my cause and I'm her result. So this relationship, mother-child relationship. So this relationship, and let's say the phenomena can be classified into two: permanent and impermanent. Impermanent means, in simple terms, impermanent means something which has a substance to undergo change. Impermanent means change. Change means there should be something changing. Something should be there. There should be some substance there to undergo change. And there's another classification phenomenon which does not have any substance. For example, let's say that the difference between the flower and me. The flower is not me. I'm not the flower. There's a difference there. This difference between the flower and me. Okay, let's say. Okay, what is on my hand? A flower. Now, what is added to it? A pen. How many things are there? Anybody? Very quick. Abelardo, how many things are there?
Two.
What are they? The flower and the pen. Yeah. When you say two, you are very honest. Thank you. Shelly, thank you. Okay, you are being very honest, right? Okay. Now, when you say that there are two things, are these two one or different? Abelardo?
Different.
These two are different. So the difference, the phenomenon of difference between these two things, does it exist on my palm or outside my palm?
Independent of your palm.
No. On the palm or outside the palm?
Right now on your palm, but also outside.
Very good. It's on the palm. The difference between these two, I'm not talking about the difference between you and me. The difference between you and me is outside the palm.
Yeah.
The difference between the flower and the pen, which are in my hand, in my palm. So this is on my palm. right? Now, is this a difference? The pen, is it a difference? No. The pen is one. The flower is the difference? No. Flower is two. Difference is also there. The difference between the two is also there. There are three things. The pen, the flower, and the difference between the two is also there, right? There are three things, right? Now, how many things are there in my hand? Huh? How many things are there in my hand? If you say, okay, two, but then what are they? The pen and the flower. Not the difference. Difference is not in my hand.
It's independent of your hand. The difference is independent. It's wherever they are.
No, the difference, is it existent or not existent?
Yes.
If it exists inside my hand or outside my hand?
In both?
Oh, the difference exists in my hand also.
Also.
Okay, if it does exist in my hand, then there are three things. The pen, the flower, and the difference.
Yeah.
Three things, right?
Yes.
How many things are there in my hand?
Two?
No, three.
No.
Okay, the difference is not there.
No.
Oh, okay. So if the difference is not there, then where's the difference? Outside my hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So outside my hand, if the difference is there, the difference is not in the hand, right? Then I move my hand. So the difference between these two things. If I remove the pen, the difference should still be there outside the hand.
Yes.
So the difference was there or not? If I damage this pen.
It's independent of where they are. If in your
No,
hand.
no, this is not the point. This is not the point.
Okay.
You said it was outside. You said it's not in the hand. If you say it's in the hand, then there should be three things. You're getting it? The difference should exist where the pen and the flower exist, not outside where they exist. You're getting it? So in other words, what I'm saying is that if you say there are three things, there's a problem. People say that you are crazy. If you say there are two things, there are a problem. Where's the difference? You're getting it? How to resolve this problem is by saying that there are two things which have substance. There's one thing which does not have a substance. So when we say how many things are there, we only count those with substance. We don't count those without substance. You're getting it? So difference is not a substance. Difference is a phenomena, but it does not have a substance. That is because it does not have a substance, it does not have a substance to undergo change. So because it does not undergo change, it is not impermanent. It exists, it is not impermanent, it should be permanent. You're getting it? Okay. So likewise, the relationship between the two. Relationship between me and my mother. You cannot grab it. There's no substance there. It does exist. It does exist, but it does not have substance. It does not have a substance to undergo change. Therefore, it is not changing. It exists without changing, is permanent. Good. Thank you. Okay, any more questions? Anyway, don't worry, others, if you get a little lost, this is something which we should be discussing the most likely during the South Tantrica's Tenet system. The next Tenet system we'll discuss during that time. Yes. Okay.
The reason I didn't understand it is because I had in mind other kinds of relationships. For example,
Exactly. I got you.
Yeah.
Because in the relationship, it has many connotations.
Yeah.
Many connotations, and oftentimes with ordinary people, when we converse, all what we converse, we try to relate them. We try to always relate them with the physical substance, with the substance. Now we are discovering that there is a classification phenomena which does not have a substance. Okay, anybody? Next question. Okay, Amruta.
Geshara, my question is regarding 5 aggregates.
Yes.
Compositional factors, is it to be understood as all the parts? Means I'm not clear about compositional factors.
Okay. That's a good question. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. when you speak about the 5 aggregates, what does it exactly mean by compositional factors? Is this your question?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. How many have the same question? Raise your hands. What exactly does it mean by composition factor? Okay. Amrita, you're speaking on behalf of many people. She knew the minds of many people. Okay. What exactly does it mean composition factors? Okay. So the thing is that, okay, let me begin with this. I am composed. I'm composed of body and mind. You agree with me or not? Composition factors means a composite phenomena. Composite factor means composite phenomena. I'm a composed phenomena, composed of body and the mind. You getting it? Okay. Now, say we take aside all the aggregates other than the aggregate of composite factor. First one, aggregate of body, take out. Aggregate of feeling, take out. From the mind, first we have body and the mind. Body, we take that as an aggregate of form, keep it aside. Then the mind. Within the mind, we have the mind and the mental factors. Mind in general, we take that as the aggregate of consciousness. Then the mental factors. From the mental factors, the feeling and discrimination, they play a very important role. So we say aggregate of feeling, aggregate of discrimination. Done. Now the remaining part are the composition factors. Composition factors meaning impermanent phenomena. Remaining are the composition factors other than the first 4. It's a short form. Aggregate of composition factors is a short form for aggregate of composition factor other than the first 4. You're getting it? First 4 meaning the first 4, they are also composition factors. They are also composed of the impermanent phenomena. They are also composed, but then the remaining part, they are the composition factors or the impermanent phenomena other than the first 4. So that is a short form. Just the aggregate of composition factor is a short form of aggregate of composition factors other than the first 4 aggregates. You're getting it? Okay, any more questions? Maybe the last question if you have. Okay, Laura.
Shall I have to ask the obvious question of, could you please give an example of a compositional factor?
Okay, composition factor, you want a composition factor or the aggregate of composition factor? What do you want?
Sorry, I should be more precise. The aggregate of compositional factors.
Very good. Okay, composition factor in general, composition factor and impermanent phenomena, these two are synonymous. These two are synonymous. Impermanent phenomena and composition factor, these two are synonymous. Let's not forget this. Now, aggregate of composition factor and composition factor, these two are different. Aggregate of composition factor, say, okay, what is left? Within you, your body is taken away. Your mind in general is taken away. Then the mental factors, feeling and discrimination taken away. What is left? Laura, what is left now?
I guess like the imprints, the karmic imprints, things like that.
Exactly. All those things, like let's say the anger, all the afflictions are left there, right? So, and the imprints, as you said, imprints are left there. All these things which are left there, they fall under the category of the aggregate of composition factors. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
stop here. Welcome. We stop here now.
We'll turn to additional dedication prayers. Thank you, Dipeshla. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all-powerful Chandasik Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantavadra too realize things they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Changchu sem cho rinpoche ma ke pana ke gyurche ke vanya pa me paya kone kondu pel varsho. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not a reason arise and grow, and may that which has a reason not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and their prayers of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the three times and to the upholding of Dharma of teaching and realization. May I, in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahayana vehicle and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the two stages. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspiciousness proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the land of snows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Ara Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life. Yatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Thank you, Kishla. Thank you, Dipeshla. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Geshe-la.
Okay, welcome. See you next Wednesday.